Hello guys, I am flipping the camera so you can see me. Hello. Today we're doing the blue notes, which is on the back of page 3 in your packet. Yeah, blue notes, back of page 3, learning the quadratic formula. Okay, there's a lot of little bitty things, tiny little details about the quadratic formula which you have to understand if you're going to master this concept. I'm going to show you a quick video of the quadratic formula song. I'm going to pause the video and pull it up. All right, everybody, I pulled up a song on YouTube. I'm going to play it for you. There's lots of versions of this song. There's a One Direction parody kind of to this song. There's an Adele parody with the quadratic formula. But it's just good to know the quadratic formula, even though you might be allowed to look at it, have it in your notes or in your journal or on an anchor chart, or maybe it's even up on a chart on the wall in my classroom. Still good to understand this formula backwards and forwards, because if all you do is write down the formula off of an anchor chart, it's still going to be hard to manipulate it because it's so complex. But anyway, I'm going to have to play this video really quietly because there's feedback with the microphone on and the speaker on. So hopefully you'll be able to hear it, but if not, I'll put the link to it so you can pull it up later. Okay, here we go. All right, guys. So that was the quadratic formula song, and here it is. So remember, just like when we solve by factoring, your formula has to be equal to 0 for the quadratic formula to work, okay? So it has to be equal to 0. I'll highlight that real quick. If it's not equal to 0, you can get it equal to 0 if it's not, but it's got to be equal to 0. Also, this is hugely important. What does this symbol mean, plus or minus? That means that there are two answers. You add these two things in the top and put it over 2a, and then you subtract these two expressions in the top and put it over 2a. So the plus or minus just means two separate answers, okay? Now, finally, negative b is easy. You just take whatever the sign of b is in the problem and you change it to the opposite sign. Okay? So always change the sign of b from the equation when you put it in the formula. If it's negative, make it positive. If it's positive, make it negative. The other complicated part of this expression is b squared minus 4ac. Now that's just order of operations. Okay? Exponents, then multiplication over here, and then subtraction. The last mistake that I want you to avoid is when you do take the square root of a number, don't leave the square root symbol over the number. Once you take the square root symbol's gone now. So anyway, those are some of the mistakes. And now I'm going to do at least one problem for you, maybe two. Okay? So what I want to do is I first want to write down what A, B, and C are. A is 2, B is negative 10, and C is negative 5. Okay? Right there. A, B, C. All right. Now, Start with the formula. Negative b, the opposite of b. So this is a negative 10, so when I start my formula, it's positive 10. Plus or minus, okay, the square root of b squared. Guys, if you don't put this negative 10 in parentheses, when you square it, you will get the wrong answer. Minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is negative 5. All over 2 times a, which is 2. Now, guys, the first thing you got to do is you've got to do all this. You can do it in a calculator if you do it right. Of course, you know me. I'm going to do it in my head. But I'm going to come over here and do it as a little separate part of scratch work so I don't mess up my nice equation over there. So that's 100, positive 100, times negative, times 8 times negative 5. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 5 is positive 40. So that's 140. Now let me just make sure all my work is right. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 2. Wait. Right. 20 times 2 is 40. Yeah. Negative times negative is positive 100. Yep. So this answer becomes 10 plus or minus square root of 140 all over 2 times 2, which is 4. Now, guys, this answer is good but not great. Okay? The square root of 140 can be simplified, but you can't change it to a decimal. If you grab your calculator, you will get so the square root of 140, I'm going to come over here and do some more scratch work, according to my calculator, is 2 times the square root of 35. Okay? I can show you how to do that by hand, and I will in class, but why do it by hand when you have a calculator? You should know how to do it, but I'll show you that in class so I can answer your question. So now I get 10 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 35 all over 4. Now, guys, you cannot add 10 plus 2 or subtract 10 minus 2 because this 2 is multiplied by a square root of 35. So you cannot add or subtract here. But the one thing you can do is, well, I want to show you something. Let's just see what your calculator will do with this answer. So, guys, if you type this in your calculator, you can even type in the square root of 140, okay? Trust me on this. At least I think you can. We'll see what happens. Now, this only has the plus sign. Then I'll have to do the minus sign also, but let's check it out. There it is. Square root of 35 plus 5 over 2. So we're going to actually write it like, let's write the 5 first. So 5 plus or minus the square root of 35 all over 2. That is actually my answer that would show up on an end of course test or on a multiple choice test. This is two different answers because there's a plus here and a minus here. Even though I did just plus in the calculator because I can't do plus and minus in the calculator, I can do it as two separate problems. I'm just going to do it as plus, and when I get done, I'm just going to put the plus or minus back in there. But this is two answers, okay? Just like in the last lesson, we got two answers most of the time, okay? All right, let's do one more. So, guys, I hope you see how important it is to have a calculator. I know I've been stressing that for a long time, but this kind of answer. Now, if you're on a standardized test and you have decimal answers, well, we can always figure out what this is in decimal format and ask me that in class. We'll talk about that in class. All right, so is this equation equal to 0? No, we got to get it equal to 0. So, guys, if you want this to be 0, you gotta subtract it on the other side. So you have to subtract 3x from both sides. Now when I say subtract 3x from both sides, you can't subtract 3x from 9x squared, and you can't subtract 3x from 2. But you can subtract 3x from the whole problem, which means it will look like this. 9x squared plus 2 minus 3x equals 0. So you subtract 3x over here, you get 0. Subtract 3x from the left side of the equation, you get minus 3x over here. Now, this is not in the right order. So, guys, get it in standard form, which means put the minus 3x there and the plus 2 there so that you know what A, B, and C are. A is 9, B is negative 3, and C is 2. So let's put these numbers in our formula. Negative opposite of B, so that'll be positive 3 because it says negative 3 there. Positive 3 plus or minus the square root of, and I'm not going to write anything over here. I'm going to come over here and do it. B squared minus 4AC is negative 3 squared in parentheses minus 4 times 9 times 2. 9 minus 72. Nine minus 72 equals negative 63. All over 2 times A, 2 times 9 is 18. All right, guys, I have a big problem here. You're in Algebra 1, so you got to get all the way to Algebra 2 your sophomore or junior year to be able to do anything with the square root of a negative number. If this number is negative, which it is, come over here, see, b squared minus 4ac is negative. If this number is negative, you do not have any solutions. We're going to put no real solutions, okay? We're done right there. We don't have to go any further, okay? Because we got a negative under the square root sign, okay? Now I want you to do this last problem on your own, okay? And I'll give you the answer, but pause the video. Okay, guys, you might have got stuck at some point on this one. You got to get it equal to 0, so you bring 9 to the other side, so it becomes this equation. A is negative 1, B is negative 6, C is negative 9. So I write these down over here. I put everything into my formula. I come over here and I do b squared minus 4ac and I get 0. Kayla's here, so I'm going to be done with the video here in just a second. Now the square root of 0 is just 0. So this becomes very interesting. 6 plus 0 over negative 2 and 6 minus 0 over negative 2. Well, both of those answers are going to be negative 3. Because 6 plus 0 and 6 minus 0 are the same thing. So your answer is just negative 3. Okay? All right, I'll see you next time we have class, and I'll answer any questions you have. All right, have a great weekend.